The beard is not that great. It is, but this is a perfect slide because the two greatest things that I get more love and more adulation for, I have such little control over. I still can't believe she said yes, and this is a sheer act of laziness. But with all that said, I want to take a moment and talk about when I was starting to think about Facebook targeting and specifically how I think about it and how I approach it. It kind of brought back some memories from when I was a kid. So when I was 7 years old, I had a really good friend, Mitchell. Mitchell had every toy known to man. I was born in 1979, so you can do the quick math. He had PlayStation, or not PlayStations, but he had Nintendos, he had Ataris, he had Nerf guns, but there was one toy in particular that he had that absolutely captivated me when I was a kid. And to this day it still does, and it was a Rubik's Cube. And the Rubik's Cube seemed so simple, yet it had so many possibilities. And I never really got a chance to play with it. But later, my parents got me a Rubik's Cube good for Christmas. I was a good kid, did my homework, got good grades. And I can tell you that the experience of when I owned it was not nearly as rewarding because it was so overwhelming. I couldn't figure it out. I was left totally puzzled and perplexed. And to some degree, that's exactly how I felt when I first started with Facebook ads 8 years ago, when the targeting was super simple. And in that 8 years, the platform has just manifested itself and grown and matured so that now the targeting is, to a lot of people, absolutely overwhelming. When I think about our audiences, I don't think about the perfect Rubik's Cube. This is what comes to my mind. So when I'm going through and I was starting to think about how I'm going to put together my deck and how I can get to you, the point of how I approach and how I view Facebook targeting, it wasn't the perfect Rubik's Cube and the perfect audience. It's this guy. But when we talk about Facebook targeting, I think, and Sarah did a great job yesterday of setting this up, and I loved her presentation. We have to talk about the sales funnel, because I think too many times we, as marketers, fail to attribute or fail to tie our audience with a specific place in time within their journey, and that journey can be mapped. So what I normally use is the sales funnel. I'm a direct response guy. I don't get to do a lot of community and brand building, so everything I do mostly is judged on some sort of ROI and some sort of attribution. The beautiful thing is Facebook has done an amazing job of setting their platform up to mirror and mimic that sales funnel. From the way they actually, the very first thing when you want to create an ad they ask you to do is define your objective. And your objective, they've laid out awareness, consideration, and conversion is laid out just like the sales funnel is. When we talk about Facebook targeting, I think too many times people don't really understand where Facebook gets their data from. And that always blows my mind, and it typically blows my clients' minds when they figure out how much data I have on them. So the first place that Facebook gets all their data from, or the majority of it, is the declared data. So that's the things that we tell them. So we put our name when we build an account, we put our name, we put our email address, we put our phone number. A lot of times we put our physical address, we put our home address, we might even put our work address, we put where we work, we put where we went to school, and we also put any relationships we have. After that, they get this inferred data. So the inferred data is all the data they get from the things that you do, like your likes, your interests, from the third-party data. When you log into the platform on your phone, they start pulling data about what kind of device you accessed with, what kind of operating system it is. So from those inferred data, they also can look at your location and pull out where your location. If you don't put in your home address and you don't put in your business address, it still knows where you work, and they still know where your home is, based on where your phone sits for 9 hours a night while you sleep, and based where your phone sits for about 6 or 8 hours a day while you sit and work. And then the last place they get their data from is the third-party data. And this is the place where it all starts to come together. So they have great relationships with MasterCard, with Visa. They have great relationships with Nielsen. They have great relationships with Polk, the auto database, so they can pull in all your auto information. They also pull in all the county record information for anytime you purchase a home or purchase a car, so all that's public record. So they take all that data and pull that in, and then they give us as marketers a chance to use all those data points to go match our target audience. These are the 7 different ways that we can target, and this is gonna get a little bloody here. So I know bullet points kill kittens. Thank God this isn't an SBCA conference, because we'd have a lot of dead kittens. I actually looked for dead kitten slides. That's a terrible search. Don't do that, especially if you have kids. Don't do that, right, man? First thing is locations. I'm gonna breeze through these. Locations is more powerful than people think. You can actually target by a specific address, and then within that address, you can pull the radius down to, depending on the metropolitan area. In New York City, I can do it for 0.63 miles. That's the smallest targeting I can get down to, which in Dallas seems like a joke. I'm like, that doesn't get anybody a half a mile, and there's nobody in a half a mile. But in New York, you can get like 750, a million people within a quarter or half, within 0.6 miles. Also designated metropolitan areas, too many times people, especially on nationwide campaigns, they just start dumping in nationwide. We'll pull those DMAs out first and attack those. Languages is pretty self-intuitive. The one thing I will say is give Facebook a chance to target native languages. So if you are targeting English speakers in Texas, then you don't have to choose English. Facebook's smart enough to realize that you're native. It's only when you're targeting for non-native speakers in an area that you really need to play with languages. Connections, in my estimation, is one of the weakest of the three, because if you're going to start to try to connect with people, I think as Sarah alluded to yesterday, custom audiences is a way better place to do that from. Age and gender, pretty self-explanatory. Interesting to see, though, if this is going to change with all of the changing socio kind of political scenarios. Youngest you can target is 13, which I think is super interesting, that they allow you to actually target 13-year-olds with ads. Tells me that they have buying power, specifically if they have an app ID or app store. And then the oldest individual age that you can target is 65. You can do 65 and older, but if you have like 60 to 65 that you're going after, then 65 is the oldest. Sarah talked about custom audiences yesterday, and she talked about engagement on Facebook, which I love, and I don't do a lot of Facebook community brand building, so to speak. We do a lot of drawing traffic off of Facebook to our own properties. So I spend a lot of time in the top three, from customer files to website traffic and even app activity. App activity is the one that we've had a lot of fun with lately, just from an ability to really help new startup apps grow within their existing base. 15 different data points that you can use to tie your customer information and target them specifically. So it used to be we could just use maybe email address, the Facebook ID, and a phone number. Now we can throw in their first name, their last name, their zip code, their city, their gender, their physical address, email, as well as their Facebook ID, a mobile ID. And all of those are ways to create custom audiences. So when you want to create it, every client I talk to, the first thing that we do when we come in and we talk about anything is can we get the pixel on your site? We got to get the Facebook pixel on there. Without that, we can't really do much and have much fun, and especially attribute. And then number two, can I get all your email list of like current subscribers, past clients, interested leads, all of those different audience leads, because I want to load those up as custom audiences. The other thing about custom audiences is you can segment website traffic. And so as soon as we get the pixel placed, then we go through and we start looking at their individual products and services, their customer journeys and their funnels, and we start creating custom audiences for people at each one of those points. Awesome, somebody visited your homepage, but that's all they did. Cool, not really interested in it. Visited our homepage and one product page. Okay, let's start to show them some testimonials. Visited our product page and our homepage and our About Us page. Awesome, maybe we give them a free demo sign up. Ad. So we're trying to match ads to particular audiences as they relate to where they're at in the funnel. Not just who they are and not just what they look like, but where they're at in their journey. Detailed targeting is where the stuff hits the fan and it gets like super real and super intense. So I'm going to give you all of this, but I'm also going to say you can go to aspiroagency.com/con, C-O-N, and I have a Facebook targeting matrix that we put together. Essentially what we did is we picked all these different categories, demographics, boom, and when you click that drop down, like on your laptop, you get a screen like that big. Like that's not helpful at all. And I can't get a picture of what's going on. So we broke all this down to an Excel document where each one of those demographics is a tab, interest is a tab, behaviors is a tab. We don't do more categories because it's a super lame. There's only 3 in there and they're worthless, in my estimation. Interest and behaviors, though, that's where it all lies. Demographics, a lot of good stuff in here. This is where we can target people whether they're divorced or married. If you're a divorce attorney, it's got some potential stuff. You can also do separated. You can also do widowed. That's a terrible one. Education, by level of education, you can also do whether or not they have a college degree, what level of education and where particularly they went to school. Work job, you can target by specific job title. So I can target CEOs, CMOs, CFOs, or I can target by specific companies like oh, I'm in a building, I'm at Confluence Con and I'm the pizza shop across the street, then I can target everybody that works for the Will Rogers Theater. Or I can target everybody that works for the Exxon building next to my local pizza shop. Financial, you can get in there and start digging through and finding out and targeting by how much people make, what their net worth is. That's always fun. Home size, so it pulls, Facebook gives you the targeting and the ability to pull out data so that you can target by number of square feet. So I can go through, if you're let's say you're a home renovations company or you sell some sort of luxury home upgrade like kitchen counters or things along those lines, you can actually go in and target people based on their square footage of their home, as well as how much they make, as well as their home value. And then we can go find the people that live in the really, really nice areas that can afford our $10,000 kitchen remodels. Ethnic identity is fairly obvious. Generation is a good one, although to be totally honest, I found it completely misses the mark. Like, go target millennials and see how well that works. It's a joke. Parents is a good one, especially if you have anybody that's in the e-commerce space and they sell kids goods or you're doing anything related to kids. You can go target parents by expectant moms. You can go target moms 0 to 6 months, 6 months to 12 months, 12 months to 24 months, 1 to 3 years old, 3 to 5 years old, 6 to 8 years old, 8 to 12 years old, 12 to 14, 16 to 18. That's insanely deep and interesting targeting because you can find people specifically at a point in time in their life where they're talking about, you know, diapers or driving or whatever those pain points are that you can then reference, connect to the customer journey, and hopefully get some attribute or some traction. Politics, yeah, that's a fun one too, and they do a terrible job because I see so many things from both sides. Either they don't know who I am or everybody's just really hungry in this election. Probably the second one. And then life events is pretty cool because you can target people, you can target people by if they're engaged, if they're having a birthday, if they're having an anniversary, if they recently graduated, recently moved to the area. So for an auto dealer, they did really well with older people, but for an auto, Greg Gifford, he'll talk on auto dealers a lot later, but they had terrible brand awareness for younger generation. So what we did is we ran Facebook ads specifically to people that were just moving to the area recently and that were below 25, just to try to build some brand awareness, and then ran them specifically ads about their cooler, quote unquote, cars, which the dealership and I had severe differences on what cool was, but that's a whole other story. Interest-based targeting. I'm trying to get through these quick so we can get to the fun stuff, I promise. These are all the different ways you can target by interest. Each one of these breaks out into so many different ways that it's insane. So do me a favor, go find my Excel doc, pull that down and start looking through it. One of the exercises that we do with all clients that want to talk about Facebook targeting is we do that, we print it out, we sit down with the client and we start talking to them about, okay, start reading through this list with me. Tell me when something you think resonates with your potential audience, right? Now we do that on the second part. I also have a strategy for the front end that actually gets me the real data, because it's always important to get what the customer thinks or what your client thinks or what your boss thinks or even what sometimes you think. That's one set, and then there's the truth, right? There's the reality of what the data tells us. And we have a way to get that for free that we didn't have, and it's in the platform. It's kind of crazy. Behaviors. Same kind of deal. I can find out, I can target specifically people that drive Mercedes that were purchased in the last 2 years, that live within, a mile of this physical location, that make more than $75,000, that live in a house larger than 3,000 square feet, home value worth more than $350,000, that have at least 6 lines of credit, and that have a net worth above $1 million. Now, what do I want to sell them is a whole nother conversation, but the fact that I can get to that audience, I can't get to that audience on AdWords. Maybe with some of the enhanced demographic targeting and some of the things they're rolling out now. But even Twitter makes it really hard. Very few platforms give us the capability to target specific personas, right? And that's what we should be trying to do. So how broad can your audiences be? You can target up to 200 colleges and universities, 13 to 65. I keep hitting the wrong button. Yes. You can target generationally all the way back to 1950, so to the baby boomers. So if you work with somebody that's in Medicaid supplement insurance, or somebody that sells AARP or sells benefits to elderly, then you got a great place to go target specifically that audience. I work with one client that does the alert pendants and bracelets and stuff for fall protection and that. So we crush these. We don't use these as much as we do age stuff, and then we go find 50 to 70-year-old, mostly women, and market them to, hey, don't let your father, mother, uncle, aunt fall and have an accident. And it's extremely effective. So here's my gift to you, aspiroagency.com/con. Super easy. And this is what it looks like. You can see demographics, boom. And we break all that out so you can go through and visually get a really much better kind of holistic view of what is the possibilities, because the potentialities are a little overwhelming. It's kind of like that Rubik's Cube. So audience insights, this is like my great secret trick that I blow everybody's mind with. So if you've got at least 1,000 people in an audience, which if you've got a prior, like if your customer's collecting data about who they sell to, then they probably have an email list there that you can pull from. If not, you have another email subscribe list. If not, you can at least do it with your Facebook audience. There's so many ways to get to that number. The other thing is if you don't have like, oh, well, we're a really small business, we can't do it. Okay, cool. Then let's take your, like what you deem as your most important pages, so probably your products and services pages. Let's custom audience that, set the pixel for like 120 days so it gives it time to build the audience up. And then let's create a custom audience of people that came to your products and services page, and then let's go do audience insights on those people. Okay, so now we start to get some persona and some identification on who exactly they are. And who knows where they came from, but at least we have an idea of the people that are coming to the site, who makes those up. So we can use that data to go target our ads more effectively and go find better. Then we can also take that audience, create a lookalike audience, and use that to go get more people into the top of the funnel to make sure that we have the right audience. Audience Insights is super cool, super free, gotta have a minimum of 1,000 people. You can load in your own using the same 15 data points. All it uses is a custom audience. So you can use any of those data points to create the custom audience. You can use web activity, you can use app activity. Super powerful. I do this with clients every time, and it blows their mind because typically most of them have an idea of who their target audience is or who's buying their product, but we had an app company recently that 70% of their traffic came from women. That alone was like, okay, hold on, let's re-examine everything. 93% came from mobile. Cool, what are we spending 40% of our budget on desktop for? And the majority of it was women 24 to 44. So like, okay, like let's take 24 to 34, that's one segment that we can market to, 34 to 44, and let's go hard and heavy after those two because that's who's buying and using our app. Audience Insights is gonna give you everything from the basic demographic information, right? Then it's also gonna give you stuff like household size, how big their house is, how much their house is worth. It's going to give you stuff like how they spend their money. Do they spend it in retail stores? Do they shop at Nordstrom's? Do they shop online at Amazon? And then so you get all this data, right? And like for me, it's like getting a Rubik's Cube and like spinning it up about 15 times and going, what now? My 7-year-old's in the audience, so I would normally be a little more loose and fast with my language, but we're holding it pretty close to the vest today. Mom's going to be super proud, so Dad's doing well. So what now, what the now, any of those will work, right? So like I'm not a smart guy at all, I'll be totally honest. I've been doing this for 8 or 9 years, so that's a wealth of time to figure some things out just through sheer dumb luck. I want to know though, like whenever I come to these things, like what are you doing, how are you using it exactly, you know, how does the gig work? So we're going to talk about custom audiences, remarketing and lookalike, and I'm going to show you some examples of how we do that with clients that we have. We're going to talk about interest layering because I think that's super powerful. We're going to talk about full funnel. So I created my own barbecue restaurant, Meet Your Maker. It's beautiful. Someday I'll open it. It's barbecue and whiskey. And I created a full funnel advertising campaign. So if I was opening up a new barbecue restaurant, this is what we do for top of the funnel, this is what we do for middle of the funnel, this is what we do for bottom of the funnel. Here we go. Remarketing. You got to drop the pixel on your site, but once you do that, then you can start segmenting your audiences by your products, by your services, by individual products, by groupings of products. So for our auto dealer, we group them up by vehicle type. So I get all their truck people, all their sedan people, all the commercial vehicles, all the SUVs. And then within that, we go a step further because not all audiences are worth remarketing to. So for my auto dealer, and he's a Dodge dealer, so the really, really nice Hemi Challengers and the Texas Edition 1500s and the high-end commercial vans, those are the ones that we spend a lot of money remarketing to. So we create those audiences so that we can come back and get them. And boom, there we go. So here's that dealer. Gets about 18,000 visits a month total to his site. And here's a snippet. I think we have 240 total audiences. We go in every month and pull out his sales data and then load it back in so that we can update all of our audiences. So that we find out, you know, who's bought a Jeep in the last year, we show them ads. Who's bought a Jeep over a year ago, 1 to 3 years ago, they're more likely to come in and upgrade or change in for a different lease. So we have to take all their lease vehicles, we pull those in, and every 2 years we run through all their lease month by month and warm them up in Facebook, then hit them with a direct mail campaign, and then they get emails. Full funnel. app company. So this is the way we went in and segmented all the app activity so that we can take people that downloaded the app but didn't purchase, or downloaded the app, created an account but didn't purchase, or downloaded the app, purchased once but didn't purchase again. All those segments need a different message to help push them further down the funnel to get them ultimately to the point where they're just shelling out $1 every day. That's what we want, right? Just give me all your money. Okay. Lookalike audiences. I love lookalike audiences. They're super powerful, and they give you a great place to go find new audiences that aren't specifically by your targeting. So what you're going to find is if you get really good, you're going to get these really nice buckets of people, and you're going to wear their butts out quick because the audience isn't that big, and you're going to be like, I want to crush them, we're going to do it. And so you're like, okay, cool, where do I find more of these people? And that's where lookalike audiences come in. They can be super powerful when it comes to your conversion data. They can also be powerful when it comes to for growing like top of funnel awareness. Interest layering, this is where it gets fun. You gotta think about targeting as like nets. So if we wanna catch the perfect fish, or if we wanna get the perfect Rubik's Cube, then we gotta do a lot of different turning to get there, and a lot of that just isn't or. So it's not like I want this person, or this person, or this person. So Facebook gives us the ability to actually add exclusionary. So it's like, give me everybody that lives in Oklahoma City and is a fan of the Oklahoma Sooners, right? And has a family and makes good money. Like, now that's a great audience to sell season tickets to sell enhanced game day experiences, to sell upgrades to the junior club, to sell tailgating experiences if you have an RV rental place, which we have a client that does that. And so when we talk about interest layering, it's really interesting to see, because this is part for like, from just a general marketing perspective, it's so interesting to see how the audiences manifest themselves within a space. And this one blew my mind when I was putting it together, because there's 230,000 people within 25 miles of Oklahoma City that have a high affinity for Oklahoma Sooners, Sooner alumni, Sooner football, Boomer Sooner, Boomer and Sooners, Sooner Canada, like all this list of stuff, right? Now we add in income, like, okay, cool, just give me the people that make $75,000 or higher in that group, because I want to sell them like sweet game day experiences, custom tailgate experiences, really good stuff like that. I could flip it around and go lower and sell those people affordable game day experiences, affordable ticket packages, family-oriented options. So that audience goes from 230,000 down to 60,000, or excuse me, 68,000, but when I add family in on top of it, it only goes down to 4,000. So there's only 4,000 really rabid Sooner fans that make more than $75,000 in the Oklahoma City area that don't have a wife and kids. That kind of blew my mind. Like, Sooners, you guys like to get married and have kids, and then like if you're making money, you're getting married. Like, she sees you at the bar, like, okay, here we go. Like from an audience like perspective, it was like, man, that's craziness. Okay, cool. So here's Meet Your Makers. It combines my two greatest loves, barbecue and whiskey, specifically bourbon. So, top of funnel. I'm a brand new barbecue restaurant. How do I get people to even know I exist, right? Cool, I'm gonna go grab my address, right? I'm gonna get everybody within 5 miles of me, because they'll probably drive 3, 4, 5 miles for lunch to grab barbecue on their way home. That gets everybody kind of that might interfere with me. I could go bigger if I wanted to, but I figured that was a good place to start. And then I'm just gonna get, and that, boom, 250,000, 250,000 people within 5 miles of my physical location, then I'm gonna now show them ads about barbecue. Hey, we might be new to the area, but we're not new to the game. Come by, stop drooling. It smells delicious. Next up though, I'm gonna say, yeah, that's good, builds me really good affinity just in general, top of mind. I'll spend maybe $5 a day just kind of letting people know who I am. Next, we're gonna step it up a notch. We're gonna find all the people that show an affinity towards barbecue. Like, now they're gonna come knock on my door. Hey, you, we got barbecue and whiskey. Like, oh, hello. So boom, we pop in all those interests. We put barbecues in the United States, barbecue addicts, barbecue tonight, gurus, blah, blah, blah. It gets our number of potential audience down to 64,000. Like, ooh, like that's a good place to go. And if I was doing like influencer outreach, you can do the same thing. People don't talk about using Facebook and Facebook targeting for content outreach, but you can absolutely do it. You can go find bloggers, you can go find authors, you can go find journalists, you can go find reporters, you can target them specifically by their type. Like, you can go find Daniel Vaughn, who's the BBC, or who's the food editor for Texas Monthly for their barbecue. He's their barbecue editor. You can find him on Facebook. Specifically target him and others like him out, and then I could specifically run and show them ads just targeted to them. So cool, people know about us now. How do we get them to maybe come in the store? They visited our site, maybe they visited our ad, cool. Next step, we push them down the funnel. I'm going to use a little remarketing. I'm going to grab all my website visitors, but I'm not just going to say that. I'm going to grab anybody that's that visited my website that's within 5 miles that also has a high affinity to barbecue, right? So I'm going to take those same people and I'm going to go show them an offer and say, hey, we love our customers. Stop in today, get 10% off. And I'm going to try to find a way to encourage them to take one more step in the funnel, right? And then I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to go and take all my customers. Once I get like a month in and I got some customers and we have somebody that I'm going to really try to push and try to convert, I'm going to take everybody that's been a customer that's signed up for my email list in my store that I got a phone number from, whatever capture system it is. You could have a thank you page or a check-in page on your website that they come, they check in on your Facebook page. You could do Facebook page activity and everybody that checked in on your page and make that the way that they get a discount or some sort of rewards program. A lot of ways to logistically roll this out. But grab all my customers, show them a specific message talking about tailgating. Hey, let us take care of your tailgating this weekend. We've got great packages and great specials. So the idea is that, I've used one platform, one ad type, click to website, and I've talked to every person potentially in my funnel and given each one an incentive and a reason to want to take a next step and to come in and have some barbecue and whiskey with me, because I guarantee it's delicious. Pro tip, custom audiences and then layer in those behavior types. So up here, I could take a lookalike audience of all the people that visited my page, which this is an RV dealer that does RV rentals in Dallas. So I could take these guys, I could take their elite page, which is their highest end vehicles, create a lookalike audience, and then on top of that, add in interest of college football, Texas, Baylor, Texas A&M, all the local in our area, and then show them ads about, hey, come enjoy a tailgating experience on us, specifically, and we've used this and had a great response. Everybody forgets to do this, but we love Unbounce. We build a lot of landing pages in Unbounce. So if you're building landing pages or one-off for specific marketing campaigns, put the Facebook pixel on there as well. And then you can use and create a custom audience of just that specific channel of traffic. So if you're paying $12 a click for PPC, throw the Facebook pixel on there. Once those people come to that audience, then create an entire campaign specifically targeting that custom audience of that landing page so that you can keep working that traffic through the funnel without having to pay $12 a click. Rubik's Cube. The idea is that your audience is not the perfect Rubik's Cube. It is much more like this, right? So take the time, use the tools, use insights. Canvas is great. We use Canvas all the time. There's also, if you go to the page, Spiro Agency /ConCon, there's an emulator tool that we use that helps me put Facebook ads together in about 2 minutes. So all of those ads, every ad you saw today on the screen, I created in less than 5 minutes per ad. The longest part was sourcing the logo and the image. I wrote all the copy myself. But it gives you a place to emulate and create ads really quickly so you can go to a client without spending 3 hours and getting a designer and getting access to their Facebook page. Go grab their logo off their Facebook page, go grab their assets, take 15 minutes, put together some, and say, hey, this is what we want to do. And this is the audience I want to show it to, and this is the way we're going to attribute it. And watch how buy-in gets a whole lot easier. That's me. I'm Damon Gochneaur. I appreciate you guys coming out today. And I was going to say one last thing. I actually brought some, here we go. I brought some Rubik's Cubes to give away. So if anybody wants a Rubik's Cube, I guess raise your hand. Yeah, how you want to do that?
Toss them, maybe?
Yeah, you want one? Are you a boss?
I mean.
Okay, cool. Oh, that was close. I want to go deep.
It's okay. They're not sharp on the corners or anything.
Yeah, I like it sitting out
It's
front.
fine.
They're
Over
super
there.
sharp. Okay, I like it. Ready? Here we go.
Stage left.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right. I've been over here getting to know your son.
Yeah.
I think we need to do Confluence Junior next year.
He'd do it.
He's fantastic. He's
Minecraft
over there.
and
I like the way you side looked at him every time you went. The stuff hits the fan. That was good. All right. I've got a couple of questions for you. First one is you showed us a lot of data, a lot of individual little tips and everything.
Yep.
So can you bring it down just a little bit more? If anyone out here in the audience is thinking, where do I start? I love what I saw here. I want to start implementing that. I've got a client that's perfect for this, or my company's perfect for this. How do they start? What's step one?
Step one is put the pixel on your site. If you have the pixel already, then start segmenting audiences, because when you go to your client and you start showing them, hey, I've got 600 people that visited this specific product page. Can we run ads just to them? They're typically like, yes, yeah, please. And then if you go and you actually emulate and create that preview ad for it, then it's just an easier buy-in. So number one's there. From a tactical standpoint, I love remarketing, so if you're not doing anything else and you're not spending any other money on Facebook, just do remarketing to your highest channel, because that's probably the lowest place in the funnel that you can actually expect to maybe get a conversion out of. Everything else, if you're going to try to convert on that channel, you need to start at the top, build brand awareness, push them through to consideration, and then ask them to sell.
All right. Now we've got a lot of agency people here in the house. We've got some people that are in-house marketers from their own company. A lot of small businesses that I think we're all familiar with working with. And with small businesses, and this is not an insult, it's just a fact of life of doing business with small businesses, you have fairly minimal budgets sometimes. We'd love to spend more, we just can't.
We need proof of concept. No, I love it. And that's why I push almost all of my small business clients, before we even go to AdWords, we need to start on Facebook, because the cost of acquisition is so much cheaper. Typically, the traffic raw cost is going to be significantly cheaper on Facebook than it is AdWords. So number one, that's an advantage. But number two, you just have to segment it down. So if you can't compete if you're in Oklahoma City and you can't compete in all of the Metroplex at 25 miles, then let's go 5 miles. Can we compete there? If not, let's pull our budget down to 2 miles or 1 mile. So really it's about, the smaller your budget, the smaller your audience size needs to get, right? And then the smaller the different types of campaigns. You just want to make sure you don't spread it too thin. But we've run campaigns with $300, $500, $600 monthly budgets to test and try to get some sort of, does it work? Can we get attribution? Does it make sense to keep going, or was it a good test?
Sure, test it first and then start spending a little bit more. All right.
Absolutely.
All right, now everyone out here, you know that you can tweet questions on our Twitter account. You can mention the speaker that's up at that moment. You can tweet a question. We're monitoring our account very closely. We're going to try to capture as many of those questions as we can and get them directly to the speaker, save you the time of having to find them later, although please find your speakers later if you want to talk a little more in detail. I've got one question for you, Damon, from Gaia Boyd, or Gaia Boyd, forgive me if I pronounce that incorrectly. The question is, at what point do you start integrating third-party data, and what platform do you use?
So like, I'm assuming like CRM data or analytics. So typically we use, as far as third-party platforms, we typically don't use any data exchanges. We typically like to work strictly with Facebook. So we have been working through with our Facebook rep through the old exchange, and then now for CRM data, we actually report that in from itself. So I've got clients on Microsoft Dynamics and Salesforce, and we pull the data straight out of there in raw files so that we can manage it that way.
All right. The whole time I'm talking to you, I'm doing this, rubbing my face. That's
all good.
That's epic, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Damon Gochneaur.
Thank you.